I wanted to be there in person, but I think travel couldn't allow me to. I flew in from yesterday. I'm in Cape Town today, and then tomorrow I'm off to Lesotho to attend the bicentenary celebrations. But because I really wanted to be with you, at least in spirit, I thought technology sometimes can help. In congratulating Warrior Talent for the 10 years of their existence and helping us, I think the criticality of people is absolutely paramount, because a company that is inappropriately located can always move its head office. The one that is short on cash can always leverage his position and go borrow money from a bank. But the company that is poor on people is indeed a dead company. So as we look back at the 10 years and look forward to the next 50 years, maybe, just maybe, as a result of this evening's engagement, interaction, and interface, we might be able to release better humans and to be able to represent those that are without a voice, to deepen understanding, where we will be able to move from just humankind to kind humans, where it might actually be easier for us to demonstrate kindness as the highest form of intelligence, because we know that we are no more human than when we actually help others. It was Khalil Gibral who helps us to understand and have a full appreciation of this, that those that are helping others are actually completing God's work. So I'm hoping that, honestly, we will be able to continue to look not just for scarce and critical skills, but for people that first and foremost are human, that would help us to move from being important people ourselves to being people of significance. Where as business, we don't always take, but we are often giving. Where we can understand this notion of transformative philanthropy, how can we give in a manner that transforms society on the one hand, but most importantly, the philanthropist? How can we give with trust? How can all of us be people who take what we do seriously rather than take ourselves seriously, by moving those things that are important to being urgent, where we are deeply caring for each other and one another and are meaningfully connected, because that's what it means for me to be truly human. Because again, when we have a full appreciation that all of us in this room tonight are actually leaders, and this notion of leadership has to do not with it being an opportunity to enrich self, but a privilege to improve the quality of lives of the majority of our people, where we are incredibly connected, but also releasing incredibly connected citizens that have so much heart and a deep love for people, who are collectively a catalyst for change, where we treat everyone with politeness and kindness, not because they are nice, but because we are. That this notion called contentment is neither a way of upsetting others or being upset by others, where we are mindful of the impact that we have, because leadership's words are probably amplified tenfold, where we put into effect this notion of double materiality. Yes, financial, but imagine if we talked about impact materiality, where we open up spaces for learning. Here I'm talking about really listening and learning, especially for those that are less fortunate than us, for them just to participate in the economy, not to reach their fullest potential, just to participate, and thereby reclaim their self-worth and reclaim their self-respect, have their work, achievements, and identity, find their own reason for being, the purpose of their life, where they are living and what they are living for them to have the freedom to live fearlessly, where they will be able to increase their voice, their own distinctive voice. Because as a leader amongst equals, we are all accessible and friendly, and we are genuinely interested because we are present in the present, not just in the moment, where we don't miss the opportunity just to celebrate with others, like we do with Warrior Talent's 10th anniversary, where we as individuals are open to challenge, because if my leadership can be challenged, then that makes me a questionable leader, where we can release people that will help us to solve some of intractable problems, where imagination is much more important than the knowledge that we have, where we can demonstrate beyond any shadow of doubt this notion of speed, governance, and accountability, unity in purpose, where no one is left behind, where we complement and augment, where we support ideas, not people. Because one of the happiest moments in life is when you find the courage to let go of small things, because you never put your time into the hands of those that are unlikely to be grateful, where we continue to exercise fidelity to the law, where again we create a new culture of leadership by creating holding spaces where our people will feel needed and wanted, where they will feel free to speak their mind without any fear of retributions or reprisals. And as I conclude, maybe, just maybe, we're 30 years into democracy, we will look back and say it can be that poverty still has primarily a black and feminine face, that if wealth is the inevitable outcome of both hard work and enterprise, then every woman in Africa should be a dollar billionaire. That a country that makes English compulsory but agriculture optional will always produce citizens that speak English fluently but on an empty stomach. I thank you.
I'm going to ask if there's one person who's got a question for Prof, but you did hear the round of applause. I'm one of those who speak very good English, but I'm a very good farmer as well. Okay, so any question? Not at the moment. So thank you very much. Okay, you got a question? Yes.
Thank you so much, Prof, and thank you for your wise words, as always. I find what you have said quite interesting, especially your last statement. But I think for me, and I think the rest of the people in the room, and maybe the rest of what you call it, middle class South Africa, is worried about the rate of youth unemployment in the country. And, you know, yeah, I suppose you make an analogy or an example around agriculture, but in the forums where you sit, or in the spaces where you sit, what is really the answer? I know it's systematic and there's no simple answer, but what do we do with the crisis of unemployment, but more especially youth unemployment, where you are having 30-year-olds that have never owned a job in their lives? Thank you.
Yes, I think I thought somebody was going to ask an easy question because it's late at night. So politicians talk about the triple challenges. As business people, we know that we only have one challenge, and that challenge is stubbornly high levels of unemployment that then lead to increasing levels of inequality and increasing levels of poverty. Therefore, the solution lies in giving people jobs, not social security or free housing. And when we talk about inequality, we are actually talking about income inequality. We don't even include wealth inequality. We don't include asset inequality. Because if we did, there'll be a revolution in this country. So imagine if this GNU was to sign up on no more than just 5 critical things that affect us. Because when the ANC was created in 1912, it's because it was excluded from the Union of South Africa. When we went to Kliptown on the 27th of June, 1955, to create the Freedom Charter, it's because a year after the formation of the ANC, the National Party then rewards the ANC with the 1913 Land Act, which was the 10th land expropriation without compensation, but against African people. Land is important because it's the primary means of production, whilst electricity is the fourth means of production. So imagine if all of them, the 9 plus 1, now 10 GNU parties, were to sign up on number 1 transformation, because this economy ought to look like us. Because if it doesn't, then the majority of black people have nothing to lose. And people have nothing to lose. They will burn the library that they need and the fire truck that they might need that evening. So transformation is still sexy. Number 2, ethical leadership. Because you see, you can't say, I've not been found guilty by a court of law. As a leader, you subject yourself to the higher forms of standards, of principles, of ethics. And ethics is what you do when nobody is watching. Thirdly, it's about good governance, because good governance is defined. It's defined in the Companies Act, it's defined in the PFMA, but it's defined in King 4 codes of good practice. The penultimate one for me is about service delivery, because that's what they're paid for. It's contained in chapter 198 of our constitution. Lastly, law and order, safety and security, because without law and order, safety and security, who are we and what are we? South Africans are not safe on the streets. That I could even understand because we are exposed. But South Africans are not safe in their own homes, in their own castles, where they are supposed to be feeling at their most vulnerable, because it is those contact crimes, but also housebreaking and house robberies that are on the up and up. And how does this manifest? We now hold the world record for all the wrong reasons. The country with the highest cash in transit highest in the world. The country with the highest unemployment rate in the world. The country with the highest SME failure rate in the world. The country that is second only to Russia in terms of suicide rate in the world. The country which has the highest GBVF rate in the, not by a factor of 2, but 5 times the global average. And we see it in the streets, we live it in our homes, because this inequality is widening. Racism is at an all-time high. It is black graduates that are roaming the streets hopelessly. Public education has collapsed. Public health care continue to fail the poor and the vulnerable. Crucial infrastructure that we inherited from people that don't even like us is lying barren. And again, crime has become an epidemic. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Prof. Are we going to take one more question, if there is a question? We good? We good? Okay. Thank you very much, Prof. Thank you so much. Enjoy.